Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. And I'm gonna be honest, I am having some technical difficulties trying to record this video. This is honestly like my fifth or sixth time, and I do not understand what's going on. My camera keeps cutting off. I keep forgetting parts of the episode, but I'm trying to pull it together. Because I got such a positive, or I've got more views than I'm used to, so I figured like people like my review of the show. So this is episode 2 of the Queen's Gambit exchanges is what it's called. So we have Beth is older now in this episode, so we went from 9 to 15, but she is adopted by what seems to be a lovely couple in the beginning, the Wheatleys, under the assumption of her being 13. And so, oh, excuse me, the couple, Mr. and Mrs. Wheatley, they take her home, try to get her acquainted. Well, Mrs. Wheatley does. Mr. Wheatley, he's really like kind of standoffish, almost as if he doesn't want her there, but Mrs. Wheatley asks for it, so she's here. That's the vibe I got, like just the way they interact with each other. It doesn't seem very loving, and I understand it's their first time meeting each other and they have to get acquainted, but it's very awkward. And so the next day, Mr. Wheatley is leaving. He has to travel on business. So Mrs. Wheatley, she's like, you just got here. He said, you got your little companion. Talk to her, And she's like, well, can you leave a car then? He's like, how am I supposed to get around? Why would I leave a car? And she was like, you could rent one. He was like, I eat up half my salary. He was like, exercise will do you some good. It don't take that long to get into town. And he just basically just leaves. So it's just like, and Beth is watching all of this from her window. And it's just like, this is what y'all brought me into? And so she goes downstairs because she hears the piano playing. And Mrs. Wheatley, she tells her, you don't have to be up for like another hour, for school. And it's just like, damn, you get adopted and the next day, bam, you gotta go to school. I can't have a day or two off. I need to relax. And they just talk a little bit more, and it's real awkward, but you could tell something is kind of off about Mrs. Wheatley. You can tell that like her emotions are getting the best of her. And when it's time for Beth to go to school, she asks her, she's like, you don't want me to take you? Beth's like, no, I got it. And that's the thing that kind of threw me off, because I know Beth is smart. We all know that. But it's just like, this your first day here in this town. How you know where you going? Why don't you want her to take you to school? And even if she did give her directions, I'm thinking like the first time, I ain't gonna remember, where you tell me to go. But I also don't have a good sense of direction. That's just me. So anyway, she goes to school. We have the typical popular / mean girls who see her and they're just like, ugh, did you see her clothes? Did you see her shoes? Her hair? And it's just like, really? You don't know what somebody going through, and that's your first thing to make fun of their hair, clothes, and shoes. And so, okay. And of course, when she gets to the school, the popular mean girls are making fun of her, how she looks, her clothes, her shoes, and it's just like, really? You can't even welcome her here. It's just like, do you see what she has on? It's like, girl, what y'all got on ain't too cute either, but I'm gonna let y'all be. So then she's like eating at lunch by herself, and another girl just happens to plop down, and she asks her if they have a chess club. And it's like, no, they don't have anything like that at this high school, because it's not the same high school that she had went to play chess at. I forgot the name of the school, but I do remember the sign saying home of the Broncos. And so it's really just day-to-day life, getting acquainted with Mrs. Wheatley. And Mrs. Wheatley, like, she's also mean to her as well. It's just like how Mr. Wheatley does her, Mrs. Wheatley turns around and does that to Beth, because she tells her something about how walking is good for her. And he drops in like one day, and she's like, oh, I didn't know you were coming home. You weren't due home for like another 2 weeks. And he's like, well, I'm really just here for one night. And as he walks up the stairs, he's like, I'll take a beer if there's any left. So it's just like basically calling her an alcoholic. And then he looks at Beth and he was like, don't she ever change clothes? And it's like, no, she only had the one outfit. I think, like, even if she was packing up her stuff to leave the orphanage, the only thing in there was books, really. It wasn't clothes, it was books. And so, of course, Mrs. Weasley turns around. She's like, you could use some clothes. It's like, don't, you shouldn't do that. Because he doing that to you, don't turn around and do that to the child. Oh, he's right. You could use some clothes. So then she takes her shopping. And she sees a sign that says 60% off, like, upstairs. And she's like, oh, perfect. And basically buys her the same outfit all over again. It's just the fact that it's not brown this time. And Beth sees a display of chessboards. She's like, "Oh, they have chessboards," and she's like, "We'll look at that when we come back down." But of course, when they come back down, they just walk straight past it. And she's Mrs. Weasley. She's just really eager to get back home. And so one day, Mrs. Weasley sends her to the store to get a pack of cigarettes, a 3-pack of cigarettes, and she sees a chess review. But the store manager or clerk, cashier, owner, whatever, he won't let her look at it. It's like, if you want to look at the magazine, you have to buy it. You can't just stand there looking at it. And so she takes it. No, she brings back the change and acts like she's buying a newspaper. Well, she did buy the newspaper, but while he was helping another customer, she slides it into the chess review. She slides it into the newspaper, and she finds out that there's a tournament that costs $5 to enter. And so she writes the custodian back at the orphanage and asks him, for the $5, and that she'll pay him $10 of anything that she wins. And so he sends her the $5, and she enters into the tournament. And I'm trying to think, because it's like one point at school where when she had her new clothes on, one girl just randomly like bumps into her, and they laugh about it. I'm like, oh, you're so bad. She's bad for bumping into somebody. I'm like, yeah, she would have been bad on that floor too after I knocked her in the back of her head. But anyway, it was like later, she was walking through the hallway, and she like walked straight through. Because everybody else like moves out the way to make room for her, and my girl just she's like, excuse you. She's like, F you, Margaret. Ain't nobody worried about you, girl. And so anyway, she got the money for the tournament, and she goes in, and of course she wins. Like, I think she had to play like beginners or like first timers or whatever in the beginning, which is also another girl. And of course, Beth has confidence in herself. She's like, I want to play the best. And they're like, no, there are rules and regulations to how this go. So the first tournament against the other girl, they had to teach her what the clock was and what the paper and the pen was for. So the clock, of course, after you press it down on your side, it's starting the other player's time, and it's just back and forth until the game is done. And the pen and pad is to write down every move that you made. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. And of course she's done with her match like quick, and then like there's a guy that she's like catching eye contact with throughout the whole thing. And he was like next after her, because I guess he's usually the first one done, but she was the first one this time. Because when he went to go put his paper in the basket, he looked like, who is that? And she's standing like right there looking at him. And so, as you move on and as you win, you move up. So that day, she made it like up the ranks a little bit, and then she had to come back the next day. And then I think there was another tournament that Sunday. But all in all, she won every single one. And the prize was $100. So, she's feeling herself. She's got things on the up and up. And during one of those days of how am I missing this? I always miss stuff. But anyway, one day, Mrs. Weasley had her go to the store to fill her prescription. Guess what the prescription was? Dun, dun, dun. You guessed it. The little green pills that she used to take back at the orphanage. So Of course, the prescription is filled all the way up to the top, but when she brings it home to Mrs. Wheatley, uh, bottle kind of halfway empty because she done took her son. And so, because this is, because it popped into my head. At one point, she took one pill, and you know how she lays back and looks up at the ceiling to imagine the chessboard? She couldn't do that because she had a, what is it called? The canopy over her bed. She had a canopy bed and the sheet was covering it. So I guess the design was in her way. So she literally takes scissors and cuts open the top of the sheet and then lays back and she could see the board. And it's just like, but it looked like, you know, the windowsill. It was like two pillows right there. It's like you couldn't just go out for a second and lay on top of that and look up at the ceiling. You really had to cut into these nice sheets. I was so annoyed at that part, but because it made me remember the pills as into the tournament. Excuse me. She was doing so good, and at one point, I didn't want to mention it because it was just so. There's so many things in shows that I can do without, but I understand they also can help people along the way. Because during the match, one match, I think against the guy that she had been catching eye contact with, he was a nice looking dude. I don't think he was a teenager like her. I'm pretty sure he was older. I think his name was Towns. And after the match with him, because she beats him, he's supposed to be one of the best that's underrated, but she still beat him. But she goes into the bathroom and she's like overheating. She thinks she has a headache. And she has started her cycle. This is her first time, which I find interesting. Cause like I said in the show, she's 15. It's just like compared to people who started at 8, 9, it's like she starts late in life, if you will. And then like the girl that she played against the first time, she gave her a pad to take it to the bathroom, but she doesn't use, like, she takes the pad, says thank you, but she just puts it into the trash bin, you know, like for used, sorry, whatever. And she just wraps tissue up and puts it, you know, down there. And she goes home to tell Mrs. Wheatley, she's like, you know, I've started menstruating. And Mrs. Wheatley basically said the same thing I said. She was like, kind of a late bloomer, aren't you? But she's like, you know, I don't know how to use these. I need your help. And we also find out that Mr. Wheatley, he ain't never coming home. He called and said that he has been indefinitely delayed between Denver and somewhere else. And so Beth is like, so can they send me back now that you no longer have a husband? Because those are the days. She ain't nothing but a housewife. And she's just like, if they find out, you know, like, but all we got to do is lie. And she's like, you know, and Beth was like, oh, ain't no problem with that. So now it's like them two together against everybody else. So they're gonna lie and, you know, say she's still married and technically she's not. I'm so glad when I'm over this cold. What else? So we're still on the tournament. She's beat like the best of the best, and now she's on the final, the last top two. I call him the second best. So his thing was, after every play, he had to comb his hair. And it was just like, I was annoyed for my girl because it's just like, click up on the clock. Okay, she quickly do her play. It's like, if you don't get done with this game, and let's be done with it. But she beat him. And then when she goes to the top player, he shows up late. And then like every time she go to make a play, he yawns, like he's just also bored with whatever she's doing, and she still beat him. And in the end, she was like, she told him it was something. He was like, I don't know, I can still find my way out of this. She's like, no, you can't, because he's like, play. It's just like, you mad that you about to get beat. And she was like, there's no way for you to get out of this. She was like, you could have if you would have showed up on time, but you didn't. So But he still plays it out, and in the end, she wins. And they wrote an article about her in the newspaper. She opened up an account with her $100, and she went back to that same store and bought her own chessboard. And I think she bought some books on chess. And I think that's it. Oh no, and then the end of the episode, I'm gonna start calling her Alma because Mrs. Wheatley, she ain't no longer Mrs. Alma. Like, she tells her, there's a tournament where you can win $500, and the hotel costs this much and this. And Beth's like, wait a minute, what about school? She's like, oh girl, I just told her you got Milo. We finna get this money. And so she's like, cause she said if you win. Beth was like, I'll win. And that's how we leave off on this episode. And I hope you guys enjoyed my all over the place review. And I hope to see you back for episode 3. Have a wonderful day.